the angel in the attic and the whiz kid from Wesleyan, Jean LaRouche and Parker Blatchford. This is the team that put the wheels on the Surrey vehicle and in so doing rallied the conscience of a community. The gentle genius from the library and the bottom-line businessman blended like peanut butter and jelly in building an idea into an institution. The headquarters for the design and manufacture of the original vehicle was the LaRouche home on Poplar Avenue in Wayne, where Jean, Bob and their children, Janine and Grant, plus grandmother Althea Molitor, all informally became the first members of the board. Jean was keenly conscious of neighbors who had grown older, but were eager to remain in the homes they loved. Many were confronted with a practical transportation problem, how to daily get from where they were to where they needed to be. Jean would create Surrey. She would put assisted living on wheels, and the byproducts would be dignity and self-respect. And so it started, in the LaRouche attic.
She's always been passionate about bringing the community in, getting intergenerational programs up and running, keeping older adults in their homes, and that's the type of thing that really rubs off.
But Surrey could not be built by Jean alone. She would have to look around for people to help put the fringe on top. Alan Curtis of Trinity Presbyterian Church was one of those people.
As far as any pay or anything, she said, I certainly am not going to charge anything. And she said, we can operate out of my home. And she said, we'll use our telephone as a telephone to for communications with the groups. And he said, well, it definitely is not going to work. He said it's a losing proposition right off the bat.
Fortunately, Jean has never been good at accepting what people tell her she can't possibly do. Into her world came Vince Verdiani, a volunteer with Executive Services, a man familiar with how to avoid the potholes of startup initiatives. Vince had some turning point thoughts.
My goals were very, very elementary, and that was to get her out of the house where she worked with her mother. It was a chaotic situation. I believe she was in the attic.
So I remember people, always going up and down our stairs up to the third floor, past our bedrooms, and there was always a lot of activity in the house.
I remember a lot of late nights with budgets and in bed working on budgets and trying to keep Surrey afloat for a good portion of its early years. And it stayed and it grew.
I believe she was in the attic, as I remember. And there were phones were ringing, and it was just chaos. So I decided to get her out of there and get her into an office. We rented an office. We didn't have the money, but we rented it anyway.
Catherine Leach became Surrey's pioneer member. She understood the purpose and embraced Surrey's quickly expanding mission.
I've lived in this house about 32 years, and I hope to remain here with the help that I receive from Surrey Services. And they help me with my storm windows and minor repairs, and as I said before, with my shopping. And I have to have food. And just knowing that help is available is one of the most important things.
From the beginning, Jean saw not the problems, but rather the possibilities. She had ambitious plans for growing the value of the services that Surrey could offer. To do this, she would need volunteers, lots of them. She recruited relentlessly, and the many who stepped forward found the Surrey environment so wonderfully contagious, they signed on indefinitely.
We're going to charge a certain amount for membership, and then we'll be charging a minimum amount. She said, I haven't even decided on that, but we'll have to provide transportation right off the bat. And you know what? In the first month, by the end of the first month, we had 50 people. And Jean was so good in getting help, volunteers, that were honest, trustworthy, and caring.
Louisa McDonald was one of those volunteers.
Volunteering is a vital, important part of my life and always has been. I've always said life is not about what happens to you. It's about what you make happen. You know, 100 years from now, it's not going to make any difference how big your bank account was, what kind of car you drove, what kind of house you lived in. But you will have made a difference in the world if you've been a volunteer.
Then a volunteer named Judy Blatchford brought her husband to Surrey for a day, and he would stay for 18 change-making years.
When I heard that Parker was a Harvard MBA, I was a little bit dubious about him. Well, that didn't last long because Parker turned out to be a great guy. He had a marvelous personality. He's a good listener. He didn't fool around with what had to be done. And so my answer to him is he gets high marks.
The one thing I would say about Parker is that he has the personality that when he asks you to do something, you can't say no. And he has a wonderful way of asking you. He gets you to do what he wants you to do because you want to do it.
Parker became a perfect chairman for Surrey, and from there on, Surrey, Parker, and Jean just went right up like that. We had been going up real good, but boy, from there on, it was great.
We've watched Surrey go from our third floor to an office next to our middle school to the wonderful facilities that it has today. And to me, it's still kept that core belief of changing the community so that older adults have their rightful place as a piece of that community. And the size and power of it today is something that continues to resonate for me. And I know I'm really proud, and I think I can speak for Janine. We're both so proud of our mother and her success and Surrey's success, all of the people that have gone into making Surrey a success.
Jean and Park, the Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire of Surrey, they took what was good and found a way to make it great. About Jean, Park often said that the board he chaired had two jobs. One was to carry Jean's luggage. The other was to try to keep up with the pace she set.
The only word that I can think of for Jean is angel.
Mom.
Fantastic.
Magical. Leader.
Effective.
Pioneer.
Fantastic.
There's only one word that I can think of for her, and that's the French word formidable. Because the French word formidable has more nuance than our American use of the word. It's a word that a Frenchman would use to describe a very beautiful woman, or he might describe Winston Churchill or some great person. And I think, to give you one word for Jean, I would say formidable.
Those of us who are in the departure lounge of life and not eager to board or pre-board the flight out, tend to look in the rearview mirror and add up all the special people in our lives who've made the journey so delightful. Way up there high on my hero list is Jean LaRoche. During my years of clawing my way to the middle of corporate America, I moonlighted as a high school baseball coach, which enabled me to write the name LaRoche into a good many lineups. At that time, I looked upon Jean as a sophisticated, custom-designed, first-class, state-of-the-art suburbanite who loved her family, competed at the farmer's market, and made a really good casserole. I did not see the professional side of her until she walked into my office at Sunoco with this really nutty idea about providing services for seasoned citizens of the main line of all places. Now, that was a bit of a stretch for me because I did not look at the main line as your basic poverty pocket. I mean, the mainline unemployment office still has valet parking, but she was a good person and persistent. And so I said, make your case. And make her case she did. And she did it so well and so compellingly. That, as I recall, is the first time I began to label her as a cross between Rambo and Mary Poppins. There is a certain Disney quality to Jean. When Walt Disney died, someone said it's too bad he didn't live to see Disney World. Of course, it's because he did see it that it was built, and it is because Jean saw Surrey the way it is today and the way it will be tomorrow. It's because she saw it that it happened. And you cannot find a more resourceful tag team fundraising machine than Jean and Parker working together. They back up that theme of you never see a hearse with a luggage rack, which means, of course, you can't take it with you and you can't send it on ahead, so you might as well leave a little behind for Surrey. People have asked me, what is it you like about Jean LaRoche? And my answer is, I like her arm length. I like the length of her arm, because when she reaches for someone's hand, she inevitably touches their heart. It is a pleasure and an honor to share the same planet and the same lifetime with her.